Hello everybody, this is Jerry Mateo with In the DAW, and in today's video we're going to be taking another look at the Xtom Mini from Xtom. Now if you watched the last video, you know that the Xtom Mini is a little bit smaller than the Xtom and also doesn't have the stereo output, meaning that the output of the Xtom Mini is not capable of having the amp and cabinet emulation together. So what we're doing is we're having the cabinet on this one and the amp on this one. And for today's video, we're going to take a look at some of these Tangerine style amps. Now, this is the orange amp. As of right now, there's no matching cabinet for the Xtom Mini. If you have the Xtom, it does come with a matching cabinet on your left output, I believe, if not your right output. And if you have the Ampero, obviously you have a completely different system because you are also utilizing the fact that you have the Fire or FIR, impulse response loader. So you're not even utilizing cabinet emulations, you're utilizing impulses of a matched cab. Now, taking a look at the Tangerine A30, it's based off of the famous orange AD30. And it has master output, gain, treble, middle, and bass. I have it set to stock or everything at noon, as well as the cabinet. Now, the cabinet that we're utilizing is going to be the Marshall 4x12 because this is a cabinet that I use quite a bit. In fact, I had one for many years, and I do notice that this one does sound very similar to an actual 4x12, where it uses the amp head itself to have a very bright tone, and this cabinet has a smoother roll-off on the high end. So let's take a look at the Tangerine A30. This is how it sounds with everything at noon. Once again, there is zero post-processing. It has a very clean breakup. It kind of sounds like an old school rock and roll amplifier. Now let's bypass the tube screamer that I have in front of this to see how it sounds with no gain boost or anything in front of it. And notice how you have a lot more breakup, and it has a much fatter sound. This is a very classic sound for orange style amplifiers, and I'm actually very impressed on this. There's not very many, and the ones that are out there are usually software based, and they don't really match the tone as well as this one does. Now, the next step is to check out how the treble, middle, and bass frequencies correspond with each other. I'm going to turn on my tube screamer on the 11 rack once again, just because I like having a little bit of drive. I'm getting a little bit of clipping. That means that it's boosted up my output quite a bit, so I'm going to bring down the gain on the 11 rack. I like that mid. It's pretty cool. It has a very nice warm tone. Let's dial it out. Notice that when I bring down the mids, it kind of has a very scoop sound, but if I bring up the gain or the distortion, I end up getting a very classic kind of tone. Let's try the mids with just the clean gain boost that we get from the output. So what I notice is it does dial in and out a lot of unwanted mud. So this is a pretty good frequency to help scoop things out that might sound a little bit muddy. Let's try the treble. Bring down our output. So it makes things sound a little bit thin. Dial it out. Now notice how this is a very clean and smooth style of EQ. you get absolutely no stepping. Let's try the bass frequency last. And we're obviously going to bring down the output so we don't clip. Let's dial this out. I remember when I first heard orange amps, they did kind of sound like this, a really mid and high-end heavy with a nice crunch, but later on they developed a really nice low end to them. A very chunky tone. Now this is obviously utilizing a Marshall cab, so with the matching cab you're going to get a much crunchier and fizzier distortion, but so far I really like this. So let's check out the next one. The next one is the Tangerine R100. This is a pretty cool one, so I'm just going to load this up to my Xtom Mini right now. So it's already loaded up. And already we get a lot different tones out of this thing. We get a little bit more ring, so now the gate on the 11 rack isn't squeezing as much. Let's see, this has gain, volume, which have been swapped, bass, mids, and treble, which have been swapped, and this is a Tangerine R100, based on the famous orange Rock Reverb 100. Now, this is a pretty cool amp that is very famous. This with the matching cabinet is amazing. I believe the guitarist from Mastodon uses orange amps, and he said that this one sounds really good. I know that Orange made one specifically for Mastodon. It's a Mastodon edition, and that one is amazing. So let's check out the Tangerine R100. Let's try cranking that gain up, and we'll bypass the tube screamer. That is a really classic tone. It really reminds me of kind of doom metal. It has a nice fuzz pedal kind of vibe to it. So let's try the tube screamer in front of it. Pretty cool. I actually really like it with the tube screamer. But let's check out dialing in some mids. I really like the mid circuit or the mid EQ section on the orange amps. I've only ever actually used this specific one in a recording instance, and I did notice that the mid EQ was very, very good at dialing in and out some either mid-range honk or adding a little bit more of a mid-range fullness. I really think that Hot Tone has done a decent job emulating this. Now, it's obviously not the same thing as the real thing. Let's see what happens if we change the amp cabinet and see if we can get a more unique tone or something that fits the orange. So I'm going to sync up to the cabinet, which is the second one. And as you see, it just synced up. And let's choose the dual rectifier. So I'll hit load. It's already loaded up. Cool. So this one has a much fuzzier distortion. I really, really like the way that this sounds with the dual rectifiers cabinet. Dual rectifiers had amazing cabinets that were very flexible. They sounded better than the Marshall cabinets by far. I really like how this extends the high end quite a bit and allows me to boost up the bass. But let's see what happens if we dial out some of that mid to get rid of some muddiness. I definitely highly recommend checking out the Tangerine R100 if you're looking for a really cool, kind of more indie or more grungy style amp head tone. And if you're utilizing something like the 11 rack or another amp modeler that doesn't have the orange style amp heads, this is definitely something to check out. The way that I'm utilizing this is having this in the effects loop, send and return on the 11 rack, and it's patched into output 7 of my patch bay and then back into input 7 on my patch bay, which is actually going straight back into the 11 racks effects loop. And that's it. It's really simple. It sounds great. Let's actually bypass the effects loop so we can see how it sounds. And that's the tone we're starting out with. I'm using a tube screamer, and this is actually doing distortion and drive. I'm not really utilizing it for level boost. I'm utilizing it to give me some crunch because the orange amps are really good at crunching up and really good at distorting. But for fun, we can easily bring down the drive on the tube screamer, bring up the output, bring the tone up to about 7. Let's bring back the effects loop. To me, this sounds like a very classic rock tone, but with the modern tonality of the fact that we have high end now that can cut through a mix and really help things sound detailed without sounding too harsh. I definitely like the way that this sounds, and like I said, we're not doing any pre or post processing. Overall, this is definitely a really good one to check out. That's going to be it for this video. This is Jeremy with In the DAW. I will see you guys next time. Bye.